Here I am. I'm back. All right, so I guess it's gonna be a part two. Now I see how people end up getting part twos to videos. All right, kid interruptions. Well, anyway, and I do have the baby here with me now, so don't be alarmed if you just hear some screaming out of nowhere. But so I go up to this prophet and I ask him about that. All right, y'all. So I go up to this prophet and I ask him about what he said to me. I'm like, that's the dad of my children. And he was just like, he kind of paused for a moment, almost like the Lord was giving him additional information in that moment. And he was just like, pray about that one. So they gave me a relief because I immediately felt like for him to say, pray about that particular thing, that there was hope there. I just needed to seek the Lord on it. I wasn't even close with the Lord like that, but it was like I had that understanding in that moment, and then I knew it was okay for me to go back to him. So that's what I did. My sister wasn't happy. She was convinced. She was like, Tanya, you didn't hear what the prophet said. He said he's going to get you involved in things. You're supposed to be a woman of God. Don't you go back there, So she was not happy that I left, and, but I had to go back. So I go back, and but before I left, she had took me to like a Christian bookstore, and she purchased me a Bible, a King James Version Bible. And I can actually show you that. She wrote in there, it was from her to me, and the date is in there. And I believe it said the year of new beginnings. And this was like 2008, like the beginning, like probably January in 2008. And our dad had passed away December of 2007. And here and there, I started reading that Bible. But the thing was, I still had a heavy addiction, probably even more so now, to smoking weed with my husband. And and it's crazy because in school, I was that person who was like preaching to everybody, like, you don't need to do this. I remember I even did science projects on what weed tests a human brain and all this different kind of stuff. So never say never. Never say what you're going to do, because when life kicks in and starts kicking your butt, you never know what you will start doing. That's why we need the grace of God. That's why we need the salvation of Jesus Christ, because you never know what kind of craziness, what kind of illegal, fraudulent wickedness that you will get involved in as you just get, as you go through life. Y'all know. So we're like total potheads. Like totally. Like, I remember at first I would be looking at him like, man, how high are you trying to get? And before I knew it, like, I'm trying to get as high as him. Like, like I'm not trying to educate nobody on no drugs, but like when it gets like super small, like we got like, I'm literally taking a tweet. Like it was, y'all, it's like equivalent to, it's no different to somebody that's on crack or heroin or meth or anything like that. And I know a lot of people gonna be offended by that because y'all want to smoke y'all weed and feel like y'all at a higher grade of drug dope person. No, it's the same. Like I would literally take a tweezers, so I wouldn't burn my fingers, just to hold it and just to get as much little smoke out of it as I could. Like it was crazy, y'all. Like I was always growing up like I was the one, like I was literally known for laughing and smiling. I remember in middle school, I got an award, the Giggler Award. Like I was known for laughing and just being so happy. And it got to a point in my life like I couldn't smile without being high. I couldn't function. I could not be any part of myself, not even a fake part of myself, without being high. I couldn't deal with my husband without being high. And I could even tell with him, as I observed him, it was like without being high, like he wasn't even confident no more. And I'm like, I'm looking at you, you're still the same handsome man that you are when you're not high, but when you're not high, like it's like you totally lose your confidence. and yourself, and it's just crazy. I feel like as I say this, that there's somebody out there that's like totally understanding what I'm saying. And if you're using something and you're doing something and it's got that kind of effect on you that like you can't even be your best self, your total self without it, it's no good. That's like God wants us to be our best self without any type of drug, medication. All we need is him. All we need is him. And it's a much greater life like that, y'all. Okay, so anyway, let me stay on track. I'm getting there, y'all, to answer the question. Okay, so we're like total potheads. So I'm trying to read my Bible here and there. And I'm also still smoking weed. Sometimes I was high and I was trying to read because I was seeking. I was interested and I wanted to learn, but I was still doing the wrong that I was doing. And y'all, it caused me to slip into a dark place I never knew existed. I'll say it like that. I had literally gotten to a place where I was like stuck in between the natural realm and the spiritual realm. And I had started to hear things, hear voices. I had started to, it was like for a while, I was like in our apartment that we had at the time. And eventually one day I went out, I think, to get the mail. And it was like such a gloominess outside. So gloomy. Like a gloominess and a doominess, I'm going to say it like that I never knew existed. And I remember the guys that lived in the apartment next to us, they either came home or they left their apartment. But when I saw them, they were like, it was like I could see the demonic spirits in them. Like they looked like a person, but they were distorted. There was like a darkness in their eyes. And you would normally see them walking upright and possibly confident and better looking, I saw them with like a hunched back and like a darkness in their eyes and such depression, gloom, and doominess. Like I can't even describe it. Young, but I saw it. And each and every person that I encountered, the mail person came. I saw the mail person as they were bringing the mail, and it was just like, I can't even describe it, like a hopelessness. I have great chills as I try to get these words out. And from that point was the beginning of a really rough time in my life, y'all. And I remember one day, I think me and my husband, we were arguing. We were just going at it. It was probably one of the worst times ever. And I just knew, I was like, I'm losing my mind. And in my mind, I'm like, I need to go to a hospital. I need to get some help. And the phone in our apartment, it just kept ringing and ringing constantly. Like it was crazy. You could tell something spiritual was going on there. It was no longer what you would normally experience in a natural realm. And I would look on the caller ID and it was like a different family member. And it was almost like some people were trying to call me to give me a message, almost to tell me something. I don't know. It was weird. But I didn't answer it, and I could see people steady calling and my mom calling. And I was mad with my mom for a year after my dad passed. Well, prior to my dad, let me see, how was that? Prior to my dad passing. No, after my dad passed, and I had not spoke to my mom or seen my mom for a whole year. Never had that kind of situation with her before, and I could see her number on there, and I'm like, how did she even know my number? And I saw her thing pop up on the caller ID, and I'm just like, what's going on? And I'm not answering. I'm just ignoring it. But eventually, I could hear my dad's voice, like, come like up from the ceiling area of the apartment. And he called my name, how he would call my name. Tanya, you don't need no hospital. Call your mama. That's what he said, y'all. Like, I ain't trying to make nothing up like this. Like, if you could ask anybody anybody who know me, who grew up with me, they know I'm the type of person that like, I'm not trying to be looked at as like crazy, making up stuff, lunatic. Like I was like that type of person, try to keep my, like maintain my cool, and like I'm not trying to break or shake my cool. Like I gotta keep this persona going. Nobody can think I do this or do that, or like I even had like the craziest childhood nickname, and it got to a certain point like my family couldn't even call me that anymore because I would be like, don't call me that. Like I was one of those people, like a shame for somebody to say, your childhood name or whatever. So for me to say to you, this is what I encountered, like I wouldn't make it up. I wouldn't want, I would not desire even now for somebody to look at me like I'm crazy. So when I tell you this, this is what I experienced. And so I heard my dad. And when I heard my dad, I tell you, I was doing the craziest stuff, y'all. Like I remember I went into the bathtub. I went to go take a shower. And the water's just running on me. And it was like I was trying to baptize myself. So I'm laying there and the water's running on me. And like I'm feeling like my body is just, I can't even explain it. Like my body was collapsing and falling apart, but yet I was still standing up. And the tub is just filling up and spilling over. I'm not even aware. I don't even know when I became aware, like maybe sometime after. And I come out, typically you try to get your towel and dry off. I'm just walking around without any clothes on. Like I'm literally just slipping off somewhere. But I began to try to fight. And I remember my dad saying to call my mom. So I went ahead and I called my mom and got the kids. And I couldn't even wait for my mom to get to the apartment. My husband at the time, not husband, he went off somewhere to go get more weed. And so I'm there just battling with this spiritual weirdness going on. So I was so uncomfortable and so weirded out with everything. I couldn't even wait for her to get there. I grabbed up the kids and I started walking, and I'm walking down this main highway. I remember I could see 18-wheeler trucks like looking like, what's going on with this young lady? Like my son at the time, who's Manny, all he had was a diaper on. I remember Anna. She had some clothes on, but she had no shoes on. And I don't even think I had shoes on. And we're just walking down this highway, and my mom managed to see us, and she got us, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, Tanya, what is going on?" Like, so she takes me to her house where I have my siblings and nieces and nephews there. So I get there, but I'm looking at my family, y'all, and I can see the demonic within them. So I couldn't even have the feeling of, oh, it's my family, like I'm feeling better. Like, no, like I was just looking like, what is going on? Like I could see the darkness within them, and they were like all hunched, and they had that same gloom and doominess all over them. I remember my nieces and my nephews, they came to greet me. And as they were greeting me, they were I'm looking at smiling faces with hands lifted up to hug me. But at the same while, I hear voices coming from them that sounds like my nieces and nephews. And they're like talking about me, like accusing me. I'm going to use that word because the Bible refers, I'm pretty sure of it, refers to Satan as the accuser. And they're accusing me of all these things that I've done towards them to hurt them. All the while, they're looking at me, smiling, and coming in to hug me. I'll try to like marinate on that and picture that. It was like I was living in a horror movie, y'all. And it lasted for months. I was stuck in this place for months. My mom laid me in her bed and she had started praying over me. And I remember my brothers were just looking at me like, oh my gosh, like what happened to my sister? Like, and y'all just don't understand. Like I was that one in my family that like, that everybody just had on this high pedestal, the smart one. She's going to college. She got her head on her shoulders, all of this. So when they see this, is just like, my goodness, like, I feel like I can say this with confidence. I feel like they feel like, oh my gosh, the strongest of us have fallen. And that's how they were looking at me. And it was crazy. My mom was praying over me, and my older brother coming to the side of the bed, and I was just like, Ty, what's going on? What's happening to me? And somehow it came up about reading the Bible, and he was like, I suggest you to read the Bible. And I was just like, where should I start? And he was like, I suggest the beginning, and now there's been times where I could laugh about that, but then it was so serious, and I was so desperate, and I'm just like, I can't stay stuck in this place. And I remember I was praying, and I would beg the Lord, please don't let me stay stuck here. Please don't let me lose my mind. I had watched every time a sibling or other people tried to find the Lord, it was like they would lose their minds. And I was just like, and that was another part of the reason why I didn't really want to go too deep in God. And I had always told myself, like, I'm not going to play with God. It's either going to be all or nothing. I've watched too many people, and I think it's because they halfway and that they're losing their mind. And this is the mindset that I had. And so I was just like, Lord, please don't let me lose my mind. Please don't let me lose my mind. So I remember eventually, my husband now, he came, and like my family was like on guard, like, no, I don't know what has happened to her, what you've done to her, but you need to go or whatever. So he ended up leaving. I believe he like I don't think he took our car, he left our car, but he took like a bus, and he went to Connecticut where his dad was. And eventually, once he was there, for whatever reason, this crazy man who was a straight pothead, he began to, when he realized what was going on with me, he began to, because wait, first, before I even say the rest of that, let me tell you this. I was on the phone with him while he's in Connecticut, and I'm on the phone, and we're just talking, but all the while, like, I can't even hear what he's saying, because I'm hearing his family in the background, like, just calling me all sorts of names and talking about me. This is what I hear. So I'm just like, you don't hear that? You're just gonna let them say those things about me? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, your family. They're in the background, like, saying all kind of stuff about me, and you're not saying nothing. And he was like, Tanya, they are not saying anything about you over here. So from that point, he began to, somehow he had like a prayer book, and it was a prayer book, like a little small prayer book for men. And he started reading to me over the phone the prayers. And eventually he ordered me one online and sent it to me. And like every day he would read me these prayers. And I'm telling you, every time he would do it, it was like I could feel myself getting better and better, slowly but surely. But this period of me being stuck in this place, it was months, at least 3 months. And so he's reading me these prayers, and I get the prayer book, and I mean, I'm eating it up. I'm going through the whole book and starting over and going, I'm like, I cannot stay stuck here. So eventually I go to we were in northern Louisiana, like the Shreveport area at that time. We go back to southern Louisiana where my mom had an income tax business. So I go with her to help her with her business. And I'm still struggling, y'all. And I could remember when the clients would come in, it was gloominess, but it was according to how well I would get. It was like my progress determined what I saw in the world. So as I got better, I hope I'm explaining this right, because it's so weird, it's hard to explain. As I got better, the sun began to shine more and more with every day. The sun began to, it's raining bad, looks like. The sun began to shine more and more every day. The clients that would come in would look happier and become more like themselves, because I knew these people. Like, this was a business that my mom had year after year. And so at first they were like so not like themselves. And I remember one day I was really having a really good day. And one of the clients in particular was just like a close friend of the family. And he was like, oh, it's a really good day today. And I was just like, it's so weird. It's almost like my world is determined by my progress and where I get. But before I got to this progress, or it might have been after, I'm not sure of the total timing of it. Oh, I'm missing him. I gotta go back. We gotta go back, y'all, because I can't not tell you this part. So Once I got to my mom's house, after leaving that apartment, the next day we go back. She brings me back to go get some of the clothes and things for me and the kids. So it's daytime now. Before it was nighttime when she came to get me. And I'm riding in this car. And as I'm in the car, I begin to notice like the construction people working on the street lights, and just begin to notice people like you would normally. But these people are all like, it was as if, let me see how I can explain this. I'm gonna have to make another video. I'm gonna have to stop this one and do a part 3. Okay.